available on Conroe's FM 104.5 and 106.1 and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776.
Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
Don't take if allergic to Nurtec. Allergic reaction.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us on the Cindy Cochran Show. We really appreciate your viewership, and we thank you. You have so many places that you can see us. There's so many platforms and all. But if you want to go to Facebook, Lone Star Community Radio, and you can actually text some questions if you want to, and ask about what we're going to be talking about today. And we're so grateful above all for
Did you say
Chris
text?
Wootten. Chris Wootten is our sponsor. What's wrong?
Did you say text the station?
I said, no, or you can text questions.
Okay, they can just comment.
What?
Texting is for a phone.
What do you...
We're on Lone Star Community Radio's Facebook and YouTube. And just in the comment section, let us know what's up.
Okay, why can't I can't hear you. I mean...
Did you turn it up?
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
boy.
You can't imagine how often that happens.
Could we just have a seminar at least once a week on these kind of things? And
That's why I'm waiting for them to do the directly into the brain. So everything's already good to go.
yeah, that would, especially with me. You go to in Facebook, if you go to Lone Star Community Radio, and we should be up there first because we're live with the Cindy Cochran Show, and you can text.
Sure.
Is that okay? Say text.
I just didn't want to confuse the.
You want to comment? If you want to comment a question, I'm so old school. Text me, and you can't leave a comment. Comment, yeah, okay, comment, and talk about how you can't believe I'm not wearing black. So you could say that. That's okay, because I just always wear black. It's my mother always wore black, and so it's just for her. And so I went and got a white just to be different, and so that. But nobody recognizes me. I can go out in public and nobody says, "Hey, are you Cindy Cochran?" They don't do that unless I wear my black. Anyway, but we have Chris Wootten with us, and he is with he is Wootten Financial Group, and but he's going to be talking about. I know this sounds like so elementary to most of you. My husband said, I think 90% of the women in a family are the ones who do all the budgeting and they take care of the money. And the husband doesn't even have to think about it. It's all done for him. I said, 90%? He said, yeah. So I'm going to ask Chris, that'll be my first question. If you think that's true, I'm going to ask Chris. Chris, thank you so much for being here. First of all, thank you. Mm-hmm. And we're having our sponsor. And who was late here? Me.
I felt like you were right on time.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah.
And I like the cream color.
See?
It's a pretty color on it.
It just brings out the headsets on me. It's great. So I'm just really appreciative of you because I know you're busy, and you got a whole staff. I only have Richard.
Yeah.
And that's it. So
only.
And I have to
only have me.
Man.
Well, I mean, he's just one of a kind. Only one of a kind.
You're
and
special,
he's,
Richard.
Yeah. The name of his show is that he does with this other friend of his is an audience of one.
Oh.
Yeah. He's just defeated before he gets started in the radio business. An audience of one, low expectations. I don't know.
Well, I hold myself in high regard, so
I know, but your bar is low that you're
it's
looking
really
at.
high.
Okay. All right. Anyway, so enough bickering because we're getting ready to call my husband. What I was going to do was have Richard is going to call Sam.
You want me to call him right now?
Well, no, wait.
Okay.
I want to first. I want to prepare. I just wanted to tell you. Do you think it's true that it's 90% of the women are the ones that take care of the money?
I would say that's pretty close, but maybe not. I'm going to sparse a couple of terms.
Okay.
I think that an overwhelming majority of the women handle the budgeting. Okay. While the men typically are the ones that are handling the investments, that side of the financial spectrum.
The complicated stuff.
Now, there are situations where both of them, right? I mean, to me, the situations that work best are the ones where there's a lot of communication with them, and they both are, making decisions, giving input, that sort of thing. But in other cases, one or the other just doesn't know anything about finance, and so, it's kind of a...
It's good to do the handoff to the person who does.
Sure.
Okay, you can call him now. This ought to be good. I just don't want his recording to come up. If this is an emergency, hang up and call 911. That's what that's his answering machine. Hello? Honey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, boy.
Honey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sweetheart.
I didn't want to bring that out in the open yet. Okay. But
I've been meaning to talk to you about that ponytail.
Listen, I've been trying to prepare him for what you might say, but I have no idea what you're going to say. But if you want to give him some advice on how he would talk to me so that I'd understand what budgeting's all about, I'm going to let you have a minute of time. Go ahead. Ready, set, go.
I've been trying to prepare you for what you might say, but I have no idea what you're going to say.
See, I'm hearing the audio.
He's watching the show.
He's watching the show. Honey, are you still with me? Okay.
I'm hearing you, but
Okay.
you're doing all the talking as usual.
Well, I want you to tell Chris what he might expect, or what you think he should do to give me some advice on budgeting. Like how would he handle me?
There is nothing. After 53 years, I'm a complete failure with respect to teaching you about budget.
That's good. That's a good answer.
I appreciate your honesty, Sam, and your forthright.
It's a dead end. That's the reason we were having the discussion about, in the majority of cases, the women take care of the budget in the family, and I was talking about budget, not investments. And most men, they don't want to mess with it. I mean, who wants to pay the electric bill, and who wants to pay the gas bill, and all that kind of stuff? I don't, but I've been doing it for 53 years. Okay.
Well,
what's the investment stuff? And without somebody like Chris, we'd really be up the creek.
Well, is it a trust issue with you, honey? Not having me involved in the financial part of this?
No, I think it's more of expectations. I've just learned what to expect.
Well, I've trained you well, so that keeps me from having to pay the electric bill.
Sam, this is the Dick right here. I just had this great image of the first time, like you're just now newlyweds with Cindy, and you test her where you have like the water bill in an envelope, and you're like, Cindy, can you mail this? Can you write a check and mail this? And that probably became a 3-week process of she found it under the car door, like, why'd you throw this away? Why you're not supposed to throw this? You're supposed to put a stamp on it. You're supposed to put a stamp.
It sounds like he talked to Sam right before we
I could
started
totally
the
see it.
program.
I don't know. Then he's like, nope, she's not paying the water bill ever again.
Oh, mercy.
Right.
Well, when we first got married, what gave me the clue was had this little apartment, and it was a pretty nice little apartment, and we only had really one or two pieces of furniture that would require something, like polish or something like that once in a while. And so she bought a can of Pledge, and as soon as that one can of Pledge wore off, so did the urge to be a housewife. And so that gave me a clue, okay, you better lock up the checkbook and start put her on a stipend, and whatever she makes, you don't depend on it to run your family, because it'll never get home. So there you go.
Don't you say another word, Richard? You've had your say.
Well, I think that's a good starting foundation.
Okay.
For a conversation on budgets.
I was in sales for like 55 years. Okay, and I wasn't really real talkative, and I didn't use a lot of adjectives and fancy words. But my reputation was, don't ask Sam if you don't want to know. Okay.
Boy, that's the truth.
About the products that I sold, if I had 5 products that were good and 5 products that were bad, and they asked me about the 5 bad ones, I was going to tell them exactly what was wrong with them, And if they still wanted to buy them, that was off on them, not on me. But the good ones, I'd get out my hat and cane and tap shoes, and I'd do the whole bit,
Yeah.
Well,
so,
you're honest.
So don't ask me any more questions if you really don't want to.
No, because the kids would come to me and said, "Mom, how does this look?" And I go, "Oh, you look so good." Wait a minute, I'm gonna go ask Dad. And
especially at the age of 82, because I got nothing to lose now, man.
Yeah, that's right. You can
Well,
tell the truth all you want.
The honest thing is that couples like you guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
You joke about it, you talk about it. To some, it might even sound harsh, but you know where you stand, right?
Oh, yes.
And you know who's good at doing something, who's not. You know what your capabilities are, what others aren't. And that's why it's important, let's say, for younger people especially, especially if you're just getting married and getting your life started. Now's the time to learn,
Just
right?
find that. Don't judge them because they're weak in that.
Because what I see happen is, I'll give you an example. The wife will put all of the responsibility, let's say, on the husband for whatever, okay? Fast forward 25 years, something goes haywire, and who gets all the blame? Okay?
That's right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So she was never involved in it, and so she doesn't feel involved in it, and so that responsibility to some extent she doesn't see as her own. That can cause its own set of problems. So the more communication you can do, the more you can do together, right? Especially in terms of money,
Right.
whatever that may be, budgeting, investing, whatever. The better you're going to be, in my opinion, from a marital standpoint. So you guys have made it work. I mean, Sam does what he does. He knows what he needs to do. You do as well. And here you are. How many years later?
53.
53.
Going on 54 in December. Yeah. This is going to be so interesting to listen to him talk.
One of the first rules of physics, and notice I have to interrupt to get a word in, but one of the first rules of physics is opposing forces. And what holds some of the largest structures in the world up are structural members that push against each other to help hold the building up. So we're a prime example of that.
I think
we're a prime example that you say potato, I'll say potato, tomato, and the old song.
Yeah.
But when it comes to push versus shove, we go to bat for each other 100%.
There you go.
Right.
It always clears out. It always clears out in the morning, as they say.
That's right.
Yep.
Whoever makes the money makes the rules, and I think that we stand by that as well. No, he's very generous. And honey, listen,
making them and enforcing them are two different things.
That's exactly right. That's another show. But listen, at 3:45, you need to take the roast out of the oven, and I just wanted to remind you of that. Okay, can you do that? If I can't do finances,
I suppose I could manage something like that. Yeah.
Thank you, sweetheart. I love you. Now you can go back to watching the show.
No, I'm going back to watching the show I was watching.
Oh, okay. Honey, don't say that. You're supposed to
I
say.
know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say.
Well,
and
you
I
probably know
what
it.
Christian philosophies are.
Yeah, you
That's funny.
yeah. So you've already heard all of this, and you know Richard's not allowed to say anything. I couldn't believe he nailed me so like that when he said that. It was just exactly how it was in the beginning about writing the checks. We had one checking account, and then it became separate so fast you wouldn't believe it. You know, like
Well,
don't even have
let
my
me
name.
start by saying this. Budgeting really should not be a big deal because you only have to know two things.
Yep.
How much do you spend? Okay, which you have to look at a price tag first before you can determine that, which
Oh,
a certain
yeah.
person doesn't do. You take it up to the counter, and if there's enough in your card, then you can walk out of the store with it. So you
Yeah.
got to know how much is coming in and how much is going out. And when they get out of balance, you have to adjust it. Okay.
Okay,
I mean,
well
it's
there
just
goes the
that-
show. Sorry, Chris. I mean, I thought maybe you were going to be needed, but Sam has it
But
all wrapped up.
what you learn with your mate over years is what percentage you have to adjust that by. Okay.
Yeah.
So in my case, just like I did with my commissions when I worked as a salesman, I had to take 25% and pad it. Okay, because I knew it was going to come back probably 25% off. So, but if you've got it, then it's not a big deal. If you don't have it, it becomes a big deal, and that's how the loan sharks wind up fleecing you.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you giving us this time, honey. It's really sweet of you.
And the one thing you can brag about is that you have not paid 1 penny of interest on anything for the last 25 years. Anything.
No
Nothing.
debt.
That's a good,
No
very
debt,
good
no
feeling.
interest.
Yep.
That's it. Because Richard's always bragging he has no debt. He has absolutely no debt. So that's what Sam, Sam appreciates that and respects that a lot. He can't look at me and say that for sure. But I'm so thankful for you to be my husband for 53 years and watch over me. And you still love me, right? Even though I make some mistakes.
I think that's rather obvious. I show it. I don't need to say it. I show it.
Okay. Yeah, I'd rather you show it than say it. All right. Okay, baby. I love you.
Okay, you too.
See you, buddy.
Bye.
Take care.
Okay.
Take care, you guys. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay. Now with that, I hope he didn't think I was kidding about the roast. You better take that out at 3:45. And that was interesting that you were talking about, like when a married couple, before they even get married, it would be nice to have that all, lined out, that you know that she's not good at that, or you're not good at that, or whatever. And then, that person. But to say, I'm going to delegate it to the wife because I don't want to do that, have to pay the electric bill and all that. That's mean, because she's got to take care of the kids. She's got to cook. She's got to clean. She'll do all that stuff. And then probably has a job as well.
Yep.
And comes home, and he expects that done. Now, that could also be a majority of the way people interact with each other.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, it's all over the map, I mean, it really just depends on the individuals, their personalities, their giftedness, right? There's some people that's good with that sort of thing. There's other people that aren't, The important thing to me, like if I'm counseling a couple, right? The important thing to me is, have you talked about it? Meaning, do you understand each other? Is that acceptable to you, right? Because there are some cases, and I'll give you a perfect example. I want my wife to learn money management, because if something happens to me, I don't want someone taking advantage of her.
Right.
Okay. And although that may not be her gifted area, they are skills you can learn. I'm not saying you got to go get a degree in it like I did and do it for a living, but you can learn basic skills. Sam was right. I mean, budgeting especially, because when you told me you wanted to talk about the B word today on the phone, I was like, well, I know she's not talking about the word that got my mouth washed out when I was a child.
Right.
So it has to be the budget, right?
Right.
So the B word that nobody likes to say, but we all know it's needed, right? And there's just very few that do it.
Right.
It is as simple as what he said, right? It's knowing where your income is coming from and how much that is, and then knowing what you're spending and where that spending is being allocated to, right? I got this much to groceries. And your budget at the beginning of the month, all you're doing is you're looking at what you plan on making, your income, and spending for the month, and seeing, do I have discretionary income? Meaning, is there extra money? Okay, well, if there's extra money, what do I go do with it? Should I be saving more? Do I just go spend it frivolously, right? If I don't have extra money, the question would be, where do I go create extra money? What expenses can I cut? It's just a good habit to get into because it gives you a roadmap and a picture of what you're doing month to month to month, okay? Now, before you can do that, meaning we're talking about budgets, but before you can even get to a budget, you got to have goals. What are you budgeting for?
Right.
Right?
Right.
So if you're a newly married couple and you're renting an apartment, your goal may be, we want to buy a home as quickly as possible. Well, I can guarantee you, if you're spending every dime you're making, the odds of you saving enough to go buy a home is going to be slim to none.
Oh, right.
Okay? At least with any effectiveness, down payment or otherwise. So just a small example of having goals, and goals, we could even go and break that down further, right? Are they short term? Are they long term? Because all of us have a goal that we want to retire one day.
Right.
Well, if you're younger, right, don't wait until you're 45 years of age to begin saving. The younger you start, the better you're going to be, right? Investing, saving, so forth. So, budgeting ties into all that. It's really not, it's boring.
Yes. That's the problem. It's so boring.
It's not like it's an exciting thing to have to do, but it can really open your eyes to a lot of things.
But what gets me is the variables in each month on what comes up, the expense that comes up, and then we have my daughter and her 2 children living with us. And so, and we do a lot of the, we take care of them, and I do a lot of things for them, and I never know what's going to come from school that they're going to have, or what's going to, and so to know that, the school hasn't sent me the itinerary that they're going to be charging these kids with, and you find out that they're both going to owe $40 each for the computer they got to bring home, and you go, what? Now that was like total out of the, and so of course I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to be short coming up, and I have to go to Sam and explain, and he says, well, give me the receipts and all that, and I go like, you want receipts? I don't have receipts. What do you mean receipts? No, that's even a R word, to say that you got to have that as well. And my sister, who's an CPA, when her and Sam get together, I'm totally shredded by the time I'm, walk out the door, because they cannot believe that I don't know these things, that I was not ever taught these things. Yeah. That's what I blame it on.
Well, I think to some degree, everybody knows them, okay? Because everybody, it's common sense that everybody knows if I spend more than I make, I'm going to end up in the hole and eventually in the poorhouse, okay? Right. So I think inherently people know, at least at a cursory level, what they need to do from a budgeting perspective, or else they wouldn't constantly be trying to get a job to make more money so that they can then in turn do what? Spend more money, okay?
Right.
Well, that's where you have to kind of back up and say, what are my goals? If I'm finding that a budget is, let's say, coming in where you have expenses more than what you budgeted for the month, then that's where it opens your eyes to things. Okay, let's analyze it. What are the things that are coming up that are extra? Are they things that are necessary, or are they things that I'm just choosing to spend money on that because I want it? Okay. And that can even be with family, not necessarily in the situation you just stated, but we all have family members, let's say, that may be, for lack of a better or more sensitive way to put it, the mooch of the family that's always trying to borrow money from you or whatever, right? Well, guess what? That's not in the budget. And it's not to say that you couldn't, out of the grace and goodness of your heart, try to help that individual. But if they're coming back month after month after month, right, and you know that helping them or enabling them in giving them that money, number one, it's not helping them, really. Number two, if it's hurting your financial condition, well, that's a situation where it's not a need, it's a want. You want to help them. You really can't afford to help them, but you're doing it anyways. Okay?
Right.
Well, I mean, that's a situation where if you're looking at your budget month to month and you're seeing something like that playing out, it becomes very obvious what has to stop, right?
Well, what cracks me up is that, Sam will just be on me and he's like, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing this. And then I look every day and they talk, the Congress of the United States, and talking about they can't stay with the budget. We're so in debt, and trying to climb out of this. They have the money machine, but it's not working. And like Sam's my money machine, because if I get in trouble, he's always there to help me out, and if I can plead the case correctly, and make him understand it wasn't frivolous. I mean, Richard will tell you this is like the first new blouse that I bought since he's known me, and I've worn the.
I didn't really even know she had her own clothes. I thought she was always wearing like Sam's or Cindy's or just T-shirts.
Well, those are more comfortable.
Well, I was just trying to keep everybody feeling comfortable walking in here. You don't have to dress up. Just be relaxed and all that. And I was so happy when the church decided, there's a lot of people that can't afford suits and heels and all these dresses and stuff. So, I'm sure it's okay if we just downgrade that where we have to. I was so happy because I'd already done that, but everybody then started dressing more like I was dressing, a little more casual, because I was like the first person that wore pants at church, and the elders got upset about that, and they had a meeting, and they said, well, either she's going to wear that short skirt that's in style now, while I'm interpreting the sermon for the deaf, and they said, or she can wear pants. And I think it'd be more, let's let her wear pants. So they allowed it, and then every woman in the world, came to church in pants, and that was just in the 70s. And so you think, well, we've come a long way, being able to do that. So our church was very conservative, but I knew that my mom always taught me you give the church. So if I was budgeting, I try and write, like, okay, this is how much I'm going to give to the church, and then when it came on that Sunday, that Saturday and Friday ate up that church, and because it was all in the bank, and so my mother said, look, get envelopes and put money in those envelopes and put those aside so the cash is there. And then that way, have you ever heard of that?
Sure, that's the Dave Ramsey method. That's how Dave Ramsey.
Is that really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my mother was so ahead of her time.
So, well, I mean, look, if you look at like Dave Ramsey, right? I mean, there's nothing that Dave Ramsey teaches that you couldn't go down to the local Barnes & Noble, showing my age, and find in the finance self-help section. It's all there. All he did was pool it all together, put his own personality and spin on it, and then sell it to the public. Budgeting is not hard, but it is tedious, monotonous, right? And it's typically something that, if we're just being honest, the selfishness of our human nature doesn't want to have to be accountable and responsible. We just want what we want.
Right.
Okay, so the average American, that's why they're so far in debt. Our government, it's why they're so far in debt.
Yes,
okay?
yes.
They want what they want,
and
then they just go do it, right? And we'll pay the bill down the road after it's accrued mountains of interest. And, of course, I'm starting to get off into the political realm, which I'll stay away from. But The point
No,
being,
but
even at the personal level,
Yeah,
okay,
there are leaders, and so that's what I'm saying. There are leaders, and they've been in so much more trouble. They're writing checks that there was no money in their budget, their personal budget for.
But the difference between them and us, okay, is that all they've got to do to go pay their bills is put it right back on your back. So they have a whole different expectation of themselves than what they have for the average American consumer. Okay, you and I, if you don't pay your bills, you go to jail.
Yeah,
or you go
exactly.
bankrupt. Okay,
Yeah.
and then you're fighting for your life and starting over, or whatever. How
You downsize.
Yeah,
They need
depending
to
on how
learn
bad
to
it is.
downsize.
They don't do that. They'll just
No.
raise taxes, try to get
Right.
more revenue, and what they call a balanced budget or a reduction of spending is never truly a reduction. It's always a reduction in what the increased budget for the following year is going to be. So you think you're hearing reduction, but in reality it went up and then they reduced it a little bit. It's still up. Okay.
Right.
It's been a long time since we had a true reduction, balanced budget, freeze on spending, those kind of things. But it's going to happen sooner or later, especially because right now they're having to roll over all their debt at higher interest rates, and that's going to get ugly pretty quick. So,
all we
anyways.
need is some countries that don't like us to call in their marker.
Yeah.
That's what's scary.
Yeah, they're already doing it. I
Yeah.
mean, the Fed's reducing their, Treasury holdings. You've got China reducing theirs, other countries reducing theirs. They're shedding the debt, right? The difference is that the U.S. government, to finance operations, number one, they've got to have people willing to go buy the debt. Okay, that's problem number one. Number two is if they take it to market the way things are today, they're having to issue their debt at a higher interest rate, meaning they're having to pay more interest to go borrow that money. Well, in our world, you and I, if the interest on a credit card is 22% and you already can't afford to pay the bill, you don't go take out another credit card and max it out. You do something to stop the bleeding, okay? I was like, the average person, Cindy. Not
Yes. Okay. Don't get another credit card. Oh no, that never happened because Sam's the one that goes out and gets all the mail every day, and so he says, I don't know what surprise I'm gonna find when I get in there. But if I dared ask for or put an application for another credit card, it would never get past the mailbox.
The average person today, literally speaking, okay, has no idea what they spend every month. They know how much their paycheck is and what goes into the bank, and they just spend, and if they're a little short, they put it on a credit card. That's the average person. That's why they have no savings, okay? Now here's the thing. That works okay until it doesn't, because eventually that's going to catch up with you, right?
Oh, yes.
And that's where budgeting, right, the B word, comes into play, is you have got to learn and discipline yourself to understand where your financial position is at all times, right? And it's important for a lot of reasons, but especially from the standpoint of trying to stay out of debt and being able to see a problem that could be upcoming down the road,
right,
that today you don't really see it, right? Because most of us just live life. We have a job, we deposit our paycheck into our account, and we just live life, right? And we typically know there may be a little money left over at the end of the month, right? But if you're not watching it and disciplining yourself to get a little more granular in that regard, you could run into a situation where you end up with more month than money, right?
Oh, brother, yes. And and the D word is another word, the discipline. Yeah. You kind of said that quickly, but that probably is the beginning of the either you're going to do well or you won't do, you're not going to make it. It's not going to make it if you don't have discipline.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing that Sam preaches all the time, is that you've got to be able to discipline yourself. If you don't have the money, you don't buy it. You don't buy it. It's so simple. No, it's not. Not with, you're taking out all the emotion and all of the, I've got to have that, and the gratification of it. And you've got to practice that. And I would think it's 70, almost 75, next month 75. So if I hadn't learned that by then, is the old dog going to learn that new trick about not buying something just because you don't have all the money for it, and knowing if you do, but the poor woman who's so diligent about the budgeting, and then to have the prices that have gone up.
Oh yeah.
That just kills me, is because I try to tell Sam, I said, the groceries have gone up exponentially. It's just like it's hard to understand how much he eats nothing. He just eats just a little bit of thing. He goes, I can get by with $50 a month. I don't know what y'all are doing with all that. Y'all eat too much. That's your problem. You eat too much. I said, okay, I'll give you that. But there's some necessities that you have to buy.
Sure.
And all that's gone up 3, 4, 5 times what it used to be.
Well, that goes right back to the importance of budgeting, right? Because if you're doing a budget month to month and all of a sudden you get to a month and inflationary spikes have hit, let's say, certain things in your budget, whether it's groceries, utilities, whatever, right? Everything's up.
Yes.
Even insurances, right? You're going to see that. If you're budgeting month to month, you're going to see that really quickly. And that's going to allow you to adjust to it in whatever way you can very quickly, rather than waiting 6, 8, 9 months and letting it drag on and then putting it on a credit card because you can't figure out what's going on and you don't have enough money left.
Right.
Well, if you were budgeting, you would see that right away.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
You would. But the ledger, I remember the ledger in school they would talk about. Now, they didn't teach us budgeting in school. They would talk about it, and they would show us, they'd put a ledger up, and they'd put a graph up, and all this stuff. And I was thinking about what the Beatles' new song was going to be, and not worried about this stuff at all. And so I think that because we don't educate the kids, and the kids think that the money comes out of a blue card that you shove into a thing, and that's it. They never see real money anymore. And that's kind of why Samuel's scared to go to work, because he said, I'm not going to know how do I make change when I don't even know what's a quarter, what's a 50 cents. What do you do about that? And I went, you're going to have to learn. You'll learn it, because the machine's telling you everything that you need to. They don't put a picture up of what it is, but the machine's telling you everything that you need to pull out of that, to give that person change. So that's what I thought was so. I remember when I was working, they didn't have that, and so you had to know how to make change, and what there was a little thing that you learned to process to do that, and it wasn't so hard, but. Then when they came out with these machines, I went, y'all are so lucky. That's so easy. You could work anywhere because the machine tells you everything you need to do. But they don't believe it. But I think that if I was a wife that right now that is in charge of all the money and have to, be able to write the checks and pay the bills and all that for the whole family, it would drive me crazy because of how the inflation has taken over. I mean, it's really scary. I've never been scared ever before, but there's and God knows I'm not supposed to be worried or scared about this because he's got it. But sometimes the pressure of what's going on in society, and you do look at that and go like, how am I going to make this? Am I going to make this? Am I not going to make this? And what kills me though is this. I go shopping like almost every day. That's why I think eventually they're going to name an aisle after me, and I keep waiting for that. But I know my hand has not gotten any bigger, but I can take my hand and put it around a can of Coke or whatever, and squash it because it's so small. They've so downsized. They think we're stupid, and they're still. And they're charging more, not the same price, but more. If it was the same price, I'd go like, okay, but they're charging more. So I don't know when we're going to rise up as enough is enough. You guys.
That's actually the Inflation Reduction Act, literally.
That's
they're reducing the amount of goods you get for the higher price. But
Yes, that's right.
anyways,
And someone like me gets it, there's got to be infuriated people out there that's going to,
well, look, to kind of come back to something
to the
with
subject
you
matter.
and Sam and so forth,
Yeah.
talking about one of the biggest problems that I see in, we'll say, kind of the tail end of people's lives. Okay, so as you know, a lot of people are coming to us. They're wanting to plan for retirement. A lot of them are already in retirement or getting ready to enter retirement. Well, if both spouses to some degree do not develop the discipline and the habit of understanding how to put a budget together, okay? Here's my categories of income. Here's my categories of expenses, whatever those are. And this is what I'm going to spend every month, right? You even have a miscellaneous column where you can put a line item in there for unexpected things. But the discipline comes in where if I know that my miscellaneous can be $1,000 a month because I can afford it, but I'm spending $4,000 a month in miscellaneous, that's a lack of discipline, okay?
Yes.
And so the husband and wife in a married couple situation, where it really becomes difficult is when you have one or the other who have handled it. And I see it more, believe it or not, with men who have handled everything financially throughout their married life, and then their wife is widowed. He dies. They are completely lost. Okay?
Yes.
Now, typically they come to us because the husband wants someone that he trusts to step in and help take care of his spouse. Here's the problem. I can only take care of what I can see. Okay? She still, on her own now, has to go figure out what was he paying for, how was he paying for it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally, because that's what Sam...
And so if one of two things is the case, meaning either he gets her involved before he's gone, teaches her, even if it's at a cursory level, what he's doing, right? Here's our expenses. I mean, I know Sam's made a list. I've seen the list, right?
Oh, yes.
What does he call it? His what is he? Manifesto.
His manifesto. That's up on the
it's
wall.
so good. But it's very helpful because once whoever, and it could be the opposite situation, it could be the wife, whoever goes first, the other one is not like a deer in the headlights, right?
Right.
I mean, they have at least a basic understanding and knowledge of what's going on in their own household. What are the ins, what are the outs? And they're a little more comfortable. I mean, because, when that happens, you're already going through the grieving process, right?
Sure.
Having all the financial stuff on top of it is, so the more you have kind of tucked away and taken care of ahead of time, it just helps the process come along a little more smoothly.
Well, Chris, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
And you've inspired me. I'm going to go home and try. But I just don't know how. I don't know how to explain to Sam how the variables is what kill me and what make me go like, I can't do this because I have no idea what's coming at me. Yeah. And he says, you can know. There's ways to know. So I say, okay, all right. So I'll listen more to him. And and that few weeks ago when he thought he was going to die, every day he thought this was going to be the last day. And it's a good way to be sweet to each other because you think it's your last.
Sure.
So I told him, I said, I've been to a funeral every day with you. And and he said, because he started telling me everything I need to know. And here, write this down, do this, and here's what you need to do. And I said, well, how much do we take in each month? And he said, okay, I'll get that all for you. And but he started getting better before that happened. I think he was scared to death. I think it helped him get better. And now he's doing fine. He is so doing fine. He's back to his old self. And and so I'm going to have to try and do better. And I will.
Well, let me say this. I believe in you. I think you're perfectly capable of doing it.
You're so sweet. Thank you.
It's not easy. If it's not your personality, okay, it's going to take a little bit of work.
Yes, right.
But it is totally doable. And there are tools out there. I have a sample budget sheet at my office that helps clients see categories that they don't think about, right?
I'm sure they have budgets for dummies. And
There's apps you can do on your phone that'll track it automatically. I mean, there's a lot of tools out there, a lot more than there were when I was younger, right?
right. Well, that's and see, and I have never researched that because I didn't want him to think I knew, and then I'd have to start doing it. But anyway, I was going to tell you, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for
This
having
has
me.
gone by so fast.
Always
I can't
enjoy
believe
it.
it. Yes, so thank you, and thank you, Richard, for all your support. I appreciate you, and above all, you first responders, thank you. I mean, God above all, but thank you, first responders. Y'all are so brave, and we do appreciate you. So anyway, y'all have a good weekend. This is my start of my weekend.
Every week, people ask the same two questions. Are they ready to retire? Will their savings last for their lifetimes? Hi, this is Chris Wootten with Wootten Financial Group. Our firm has been in Montgomery County for decades, but the hopes and dreams of the people we serve never change. We help answer these two questions and many more that people have about their uncertain financial future. We have a simple introductory client experience that allows us to get to know the client and includes a few meetings for the client to kick the tires at no charge. We provide a concise, one-page summary that helps the client get a better handle on which questions are the right questions for them. To learn more about Wootten Financial Group's process in helping their clients to a clearer financial future and to see their contact information, visit Cindy Cochran Show page on irlonestar.com/TCCS. Wootten Financial Group is a proud sponsor of the Cindy Cochran Show. Wootten Financial Group is available by phone at 936-449-5952 or visit them on the web at www.woottonfinancial.com. That's www.woottonfinancial.com.
This program is sponsored by the Wootten Financial Group. It is not the intent of Wootten Financial Group to render or offer personalized investment advice or financial planning advice through this radio program or any related website. Wootten Financial Group's participation in this program is limited to providing general information on financial matters and should not be construed as financial recommendation or investment advice. Investment advisory services are offered through Game Plan Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission and the state of Texas. Insurance services are offered through Wootten Financial Group, Inc. Game Plan Advisors and Wootten Financial Group, Inc. are affiliated through common ownership, and neither firm is affiliated with The Cindy Cochran Show. No listener should assume that any information presented and or made available on this program serves as the receipt of or a substitute for personalized individual advice from Game Plan Advisors, Wootten Financial Group, or any of their representatives.